Blind father is reduced to tears when not a single London train commuter gives up their disabled seat for him and his guide dog. Amit Patel, 37, lost his sight 5 years ago and uses guide dog Kika to get around. On Wednesday he was reduced to tears after failing to get a seat on the train. He and Kika boarded, but nobody moved to help the former medic and his dog. Mr. Patel had to stumble for something to hold onto, and Kika slid on the wet floor. He said he felt useless being unable to help the pup that looks after him daily. Mr. Patel previously shared a video showing the difficulty he had using the tube. A blind former doctor was reduced to tears on a train after passengers ignored his pleas for a seat while his guide dog slid around the carriage in distress. Amit Patel, who lost his sight 5 years ago from a hemorrhage behind his eyes, took to Twitter to reveal his humiliation, telling followers how he struggled to find something to hold as commuters blanked his calls for help. The 37-year-old had walked with guide dog Kika to the end of the platform to board a Southeastern train to Waterloo in the designated disabled section, but was left feeling hurt and humiliated when nobody moved to allow him sit down. Scroll down for video. People can't be so selfish, they pretend they can't see or hear when I ask if there's a seat available, he wrote in the emotional social media post. It's so humiliating when I struggle to find something to hold onto and keep Kika safe at the same time. This is when you'll see a tear running down my face. Life is difficult enough. Mr. Patel had given Kika the verbal command find a seat, but this was ignored by his fellow commuters who stayed put and allowed the Labrador to slip in the wet. He added in a further heartbreaking tweet, Kika kept sliding and she was obviously distressed. She looks after me every day, and I felt useless. The former A&E doctor was working as a locum in London hospitals when he started losing his sight 5 years ago. Despite 6 cornea transplants in Britain and 2 in America, doctors were unable to save Mr. Patel's sight, and each transplant was rejected by his body. He was diagnosed with keratoconus, a condition which changes the shape of the cornea, during his final year of medical school by his flatmate who is an optician. Mr. Patel explained his experience on Wednesday was nothing out of the ordinary, but Kika's distress was especially heartbreaking for him. I was very upset yesterday as the floor on the train was slippery, Kika kept sliding, and she was obviously distressed, he wrote. She looks after me every day, and I felt useless. Discussing the humiliating ordeal, Mr. Patel told the Evening Standard, normally she is really good, or occasionally somebody says, here have my seat, but not yesterday. Mr. Patel said in January people deliberately hit him with their bags. They have loads of space to get past, but they seem to think it is fun to barge into a blind person. Kika always sits to my left-hand side, so we often block the escalator and people will hit her with bags and umbrellas to get her to move out of the way. The worst part is the tutting and negative comments behind me. People are so rude and arrogant and assume they can do whatever they want. One lady even said I should apologize to the people behind her for holding them up. I asked her if I should apologize for being blind and she said, yes. Sometimes I wonder who is the blind person when there are people glued to their mobile phones. It really scares Kika sometimes. I can feel how upset she gets, and when I get upset she senses it and she won't go on the escalators for a few days. Mr. Patel travels by train nearly every day and says he has been ignored by staff when he is in unfamiliar surroundings. He added, "Sometimes I get a train with my 4-month-old son and I say quite loudly, 'Kika, find me a seat,' but no one budges." When my wife reviewed a piece of footage once, a lady was sitting on one seat with her shopping on another. "Sometimes the only way I get a seat is to scratch Kika behind the ears so she shakes a little. No one likes a wet dog. It makes it so much harder than it needs to be. There are taxi drivers who will see you and won't stop. Sometimes train staff will say they didn't see me when they clearly did. People even walk right up to me, then swerve at the last minute and come up to Kika and touch her and distract her while she is walking. Losing my sight is very lonely. If I'm traveling by public transport, I'm sometimes like a scared little boy sat in the corner." Kika even saved her owner's life when a car jumped a red light at a crossing. Mr. Patel added, "She saw the car, got in front of me, and took the hit. The car grazed her nose." It was 3 days before she could work again. Kika, who has been with Mr. Patel since 2014, is one of only 5% of guide dogs trained to take their owner on an escalator. The former University College Hospital doctor said, "I've lost the sight completely in my right eye, and my left has nearly gone." People assume that if you lose your sight, that's it, there's no pain, but it's excruciating. "My other senses have increased though, my smell, hearing and touch." Mr. Patel now volunteers for RNIB, Action for Blind People and Guide Dogs for the Blind, to help coach new guide dog users.